Exceptions, there's a bunch of built-in exceptions, but you can also create your own user-defined exceptions. And this is sometimes useful if you wanted to throw up an error based off of something that somebody does, but you don't want it to break the program, but you still want to act off of whatever happens. So for this, we need to go ahead and create a new class, public class custom exception, and we want to inherit the exception base class. And so this exception base class is a serializable in namespace system, represents errors that occur during application execution. Now this has a constructor, and so we want to have a constructor for our custom exception, public custom exception, and we want to take in a string. And we want to take that string and we want to pass it along to the base constructor, which is the exception. And again, we don't need anything else in here because we're just taking that string and we're passing it off onto the base constructor. So this is a custom class which we derive from the exception base class. And so now let's go ahead and try this. So let's go ahead and do try console.writeLine inside try. And let's just go create a generic catch exception E. And we'll do console.writeLine, and I'll just write out whatever that exception is. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that for right now. So when I run this, I mean, all we're going to see is inside try and everything will work fine because nothing fails. But let's say, for instance, that some execution inside of here is going to throw an exception. So this is where you would throw a custom exception. So for that, we need to create a new instance of our custom exception class. Custom exception E is equal to new custom exception. And this custom exception, because we have a constructor here, requires a message. This is a custom exception known as E. So now we can go ahead and throw E. And what will happen is when we throw that exception, then we are going to catch that particular exception. So if I run this now, we're going to get inside try, and then notice that now we have CS exceptions, custom exception. This is a custom exception. So this exception here, we can actually do custom exception. Doesn't matter, I just threw a generic exception up there. And we're still getting these same exceptions, custom exception. If we do not have this specified here, I'll just put, say, index out of range exception, and we run this, we're going to get inside try, but notice that this is now an unhandled exception of type custom exception. So just going to leave that. I'll put this back at exception. So notice that now we're throwing that exception. That's a custom exception that we are catching. And this is how we can write our own exception messages and everything else. The other thing we can do is help link, for instance. So this is when this exception happens, maybe you put your company's contact information or website address, https coloradomesa.edu. And so now when we do this, I can go ahead and also print off console.writeLine e.help link. And so notice that now when we catch this custom exception, we catch, this is the message that we have put up there. This is the custom exception. And then notice that help link is going to be whatever you specify as that string there will also get printed out to the console or log somewhere, or something will be done with that and it will provide information to the developer or the user that, hey, this error happened, contact so-and-so at so-and-so.